fantastical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the SNL Network. My name is John from the SNL Network, and I am so excited to be here today to bring you a very special podcast discussing our experience at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal. It was a really incredible few days, and I cannot wait to talk all about it. And I had to talk to someone about it who came all the way to Montreal from New York City. It was Nicole Rovine. Nicole, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm back in New York City. I flew home, and I'm happy. I feel like it was so much fun. We got to see a lot of shows, talk to people. We got to even see some shows that we didn't plan on seeing. So it was just like such a cool time. I think that was the third or the fourth time I had been to Montreal. And for one thing, I just always forget how much French is everywhere. So I feel like I was teaching myself French the whole time of all the different signs and things. So it's a cool place to be. And like, as far as comedy festivals, I just like could not recommend it enough for people to go anytime Just for Laughs has anything going on in Toronto, Montreal, wherever. Like, it was just so fun and put together so flawlessly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was great to see you. I hadn't seen you since I was in New York in May, so it was fun to get to hang out with you for a few days. And also, you definitely knew how French Montreal was when I said Michelle Obama on the.
That's
the
true. I should have known. Yeah,
you should have remembered.
I think of you as just like a Westchester kid or something. If you know, like just like somebody who lives close to me, and then you say Michelle, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's some cultural differences.
For sure.
I forget, and then exactly Michelle.
Yes.
But I don't hear what is it, a boot that much of people? Sorry.
No, I feel like that's been taken out of my.
Yeah, you don't do that. Maybe was that a conscious thing?
I don't know. I have some American family, and they've said when I've gone to see them for like I've gone out to Florida for family events and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you have the most Canadian accent ever," and then I don't really hear it. People tell me I don't otherwise, so I don't know. Yeah. But I guess sometimes it comes out, sometimes it doesn't. Anyways, so yeah, Just for Laughs. So basically, we're here today to talk about our experience going through the different shows and what it was like to be involved with the comedy festival. Just, to give a little bit of background. So Just for Laughs, obviously taking place in my home city, Montreal. It's the 40th year of Just for Laughs. Just for Laughs has grown tremendously over the last 40 years. They're now having shows in Toronto. There's a festival that's going to be happening at the end of September. They have some shows in Vancouver as well. So it's really incredible. One of the things that I learned this week from, the performers and the talent perspective is that they talk a lot about how Just for Laughs is like summer camp for comedians. That's the line that they kept using. And it's just cool to get to hear from them how much they enjoy going and seeing and partying with their comedian friends. And just to get a little taste of that this week was really exciting. So first off, I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody at Just for Laughs, all the organizers, all of the PR people who were willing to include us in some of the media coverage for Just for Laughs. That was really, really nice, obviously, with our connection to Saturday Night Live. And, we'll talk, Nicole, we had a lot of fun talking about the connections between Just for Laughs and SNL in terms of them both being breeding grounds for future comedians. So I feel that, this is a really great opportunity for us to continue to go year after year and get to talk to people.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's this is the way this is going to work today is we're going to talk about some of the shows that we got to see. We'll talk about, our experience, literally like how it works, going to attend some of this stuff. We got to go to the Just for Laughs awards show, which we'll explain to you what that was. And I got to do some red carpet interviews and got to talk to some really cool people. We're going to play those interviews for you in this podcast. So you'll get to hear from a lot of really cool people who attended and got awards or were presenting awards that day. So we'll play those interviews for you. And then we'll wrap things up and just talk about why you should maybe go visit Just for Laughs next year or any other comedy shows in the future. Okay. So basically, Just for Laughs is like a 2-week festival, at least. They really do shows like for about a month, but it's really 2 weeks, and it sort of ramps up into this final week where they have, it must be, Nicole, they must have like 20 or 30 shows a night, I would think.
Oh, yeah. And then also each show, there are several shows in that one night that have like 7 or 8 comedians. So it's like there are tons of shows, and within each show, like you're going to see so many different people in most of them.
For sure. And it all sort of takes place on this area like downtown Montreal. I'd love, Nicole, if you could maybe describe like what it's like to be in that like area where all the shows take place, because for you who is not like familiar, like for me, it's just like, okay, this is downtown, but for you just to like see it, it must have been really cool.
Oh, for me, yeah, it was so cool. It just felt like this big communal vibe. Everybody was walking around. It even kind of felt like a food festival. I know I treated it like one. I got a Caesar salad with pulled pork. 20 minutes later, I got paella, so there's something for the foodies there. Just like that was really fun. So yeah, it felt sort of like a carnival in a way, like tons of things going on. You could walk around. The streets were closed off for pedestrians, which you said that street sometimes is, which is really nice. In New York City, it feels like such a treat when that happens. There are very few streets where it gets to be closed off. And in the summer, they do it sometimes, but it's just very rare and very special to have just big places for people to roam around. And then also on the Friday night, it was the Friday night that we were walking around. We also got to see something that I was so excited to see that I didn't even realize we were going to get to see, was Trixie Mattel, who is a drag queen who is one of my favorite people in the world, like one of the best entertainers you'll ever see in your life. And she had a show that was outside. So like it was free to the public, and it was so cool because you could be kind of in the crowd, but also if you were walking around, you could hear the music from like 5 blocks in any direction. So like she was doing, a Lana Del Rey song, doing stand-up comedy mixed in throughout the music. So it was just like so cool. I loved that. I felt like the vibe, it's so hard to find a place like that where there's a show that just feels so open and happy. Again, comparing to New York, I'm like trashing New York where I've lived my whole life and probably will never live anywhere else.
Move to Montreal.
But I know, but it's like, I love New York, and but it's just so refreshing that there's a place where you can have so much going on, and like, the streets are open. You can go to a million things all over. Like you get surprised. I feel like every single person who went to Just for Laughs to see a comedy show, I would bet you, also did something where they saw a show, ate a food, talked to someone, did something that they didn't plan on doing. There was so much spontaneity around it. And that was one of the most fun aspects of it to me.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's actually a lot more intimate than you think it is. Like there's a lot of people. Like, so I don't mean intimate in terms of like there's there's not too many. I mean, there's a lot of people that are on the street and you're having fun with it, but the shows themselves feel super intimate because it's not like here we have the Bell Center. Like every major city has like big stadiums and stuff. And I think it was really only like Kevin Hart who did the Bell Center this week. But a lot of the theaters that the comedians are performing at are really smaller. There's one pretty big one that's in that area that's called Place des Arts, which is where Amy Schumer was this week and John Mulaney was. But, most of the shows that you would go see are in either smaller theaters that are maybe like a couple hundred people, or even in like small comedy clubs or, former like strip clubs. We went to go see a show there, so we'll talk about that. I mean, like you can go see a show and you could be like maybe 20 or 30 people going to see it, and the comedians like really do talk to you and stuff and interact with you. So it's a really cool experience, just all the different types of shows that you can go and see.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, how this all started. So basically, we were given some press. So we were able to go see some press access, media access. So we were able to go see some of the different shows. On Wednesday night, the first show that we were given access to was the Rosebud Baker show. And for those who don't know, Rosebud Baker is a new writer on Saturday Night Live. She was hired earlier, I think it was in the spring, with Claire O'Kane and Nicole Sun, and the three were brought in. And there was a lot of buzz because Rosebud Baker has worked with Michael Che previously. She was a writer on That Damn Michael Che, and it was just exciting to get to see what she was going to do. I know a lot of our listeners were really excited potentially for her to even maybe appear on camera at some point. So she's been around the stand-up circuit for a while. And I went to her show on Wednesday, and this was a really fun experience because she was basically working as hard as any of the artists that were booked for Just for Laughs. She has been doing shows every single day, like every day at 9 o'clock, she was doing a show. And then she would go and she was part of the Variety top 10 comics to watch. She was going to attend some of the surprise shows where they would bring out like comics later on in the evening. Every midnight, they always had like a midnight surprise show where they bring out other comedians and stuff like that. So my experience on Wednesday was going to see Rosebud Baker, and I really enjoyed the set that she did. She went for about 45 minutes, I would say. We were in that old strip club that I talked about, which was Nicole and I actually got to go to a show there a couple days later, and I got to watch her perform. It was a lot of what I always find very interesting is like in Canada how the American politics jokes end up playing, because we're not always as like tapped into that stuff, and a lot of comedians don't necessarily adjust their sets. They do their thing that they practice throughout going around the States. But she did up in Montreal, and I think that everything she said totally played. There was a lot of talk about Roe v. Wade, which is obviously a hot button topic for a lot of different comedians nowadays. And I thought that she just played it really well, talking about being a woman in comedy. And I would really recommend anybody go see Rosebud Baker. She's extremely intelligent, really poised on screen. I love that she does a lot of physical work when she's walking around the stage. And I really enjoyed getting to see her show. And then I know that we actually saw her again on Friday night a little bit when she came out, when we saw Chris Redd's show, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the show ended with Rosebud, and I went over and I said hello, and she came outside, and we were talking outside for a while, and it was really cool. I got that whole experience where I was talking to her, and different comics were coming by and saying hello to her as well, and introducing themselves to me, and it was just really nice to get to chat with her. She's so excited to be a part of SNL, and Rosebud, was saying how she's adjusting to this lifestyle of writing all these sketches, and she comes from this stand-up comedy background, and for her to just be writing sketch comedy, it's a really cool experience, given that she came from that Dan Michael Che and is now really just as jumping in the deep end with SNL. So was really thrilled that I got to see her perform, and I'm very excited for what we might get from Rosebud in season 48. Okay, so that was Wednesday, and then on Thursday, we were given media access to Jerrod Carmichael's show, and this is a very interesting show to have media access to, because in theory, you're not really supposed to talk about what happened at Jerrod Carmichael's show. When you walk in, I think they called it a Yonder show, which means that they take your phone and they put it in this enclosure that you can't open, so you still have it. Nicole, I know you saw Jerrod in New York. Is that what happened with you?
Yes, same exact thing. It's these very cool high-tech thingies. Yeah, maybe it was the same ones, but it felt like this cool modern purse or something. But same thing, no phones. Or we were holding our phones, but we couldn't use them.
Yeah, and it was just weird. I'm so used to not. I'm so used to looking at my phone all the time that it was weird just not to want to text at all. But I guess it's good because I got to completely focus on Jerrod's show. And I would say this was definitely the most unique comedy show I've ever been to in my life. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but just the fact that first to start it off by, everybody's focused on the show. Jerrod comes out. The spotlight, it's one spotlight on him. There's a chair. He's sitting down on the chair. He has a notebook next to him. And he's really just riffing and talking about his life. He was just talking about his experiences. Obviously, he's had a crazy year and just blown up in terms of his celebrity status. And it was really fascinating to get to hear him talk about, his year, what's happened to him. There was a lot of jokes about, how now he's the one that's really providing for his family when, many years they were questioning what he was doing with his life when it came to stand-up comedy. So that was really interesting. But I don't know about you, Nicole, when you saw him and how this sort of compares. But for me, I thought that one of the most interesting aspects of his show is that on all other comedy shows I see, it's go, go, go. It's beat after beat. Somebody's making a joke and then they go on to the next one and they really transition from story to story. And maybe there's a callback or two. But with Jerrod, the pacing of his show is so different. It's he'll tell a story and then he'll stop and he'll pause for a minute and a half and just not say anything at all and just be thinking. Did you have that same experience?
For sure, yeah. I mean, without saying too much, I felt very kind of raw and real. And I respect that. I mean, I've been to shows where it's very clear that whether it's something that's going to be televised for a taping, it can be very clear that something is just rehearsed to the nines, and there's no flexibility in what someone says. Like if an audience member sparks something, there's just no chance that they're going to react to that and engage with it and be loose. So I mean, I prefer this style so much to that when it's like too tight and you can tell that a joke was written and perfected and there's no flexibility. So it was similar. I felt like, oh, he's truly thinking in the moment and he's truly kind of processing as he's delivering, which is so rare. You know, I feel like a lot of comedians even now design sets to be like TikTokable or turned into kind of viral moments online. So I feel like he just does not think that way at all. He's truly just in the moment and reacting in real time. Like if he says something, he says something. Even there are moments where he'll say something and he's like surprised at himself for whether saying something or for articulating something or for like realizing something. It just feels like very genuine and real. And we can talk about the award show also, but he alluded to that in his acceptance speech of like just how truth is more important than anything. And I think that's why he's had all this success this year. It's like of all the noise of people who have these super tight sets that are just exactly the way that they're going to be when you walk in, like of all that noise of people, like he will put his truth above all of that. He'll put like sitting into the moment above, you know, having that viral moment or above like the illusion of perfection or whatever. So yeah, I mean, we're more talking about the style of it than the content, just because it was both of the shows that we went to of his were no phones allowed. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend seeing him live. I think it's just a very unique experience. It's also like I very rarely am without my phone, so just that alone, it's like you really have to sit not just with his discomfort, and he'll be clear that there is discomfort in truth, but also in your own. Watching someone on stage like talk about discomfort, it's like you have to sit into that yourself. So it's like a cool, very unique experience to see him live, and I definitely recommend it.
For sure, but it was also so different than the monologue that he did on SNL about the Will Smith slap. Like, that's what I was expecting. Like, this high energy, like, oh, we're not going to talk about it. Like, when he was looking at the camera and stuff like that. Like, this was a totally different Jerrod Carmichael. Yeah. And it was like, just to put a finer point on it, like, there were moments where it would just be complete silence. Then like somebody in the audience would laugh because out of just like the awkward nature of just like needing, like not having this like silence of like 200 people in the room. And then he would look at his notebook and he'd be like, nah, I'm not going to talk about that tonight.
Yeah.
And then he would just like keep going to the next thing.
I wonder what his monologue would have been like, or what he was planning on without, the slap of it all. If that hadn't happened, I wonder if he would have had that same energy, or if he would have been more toned down, reflective. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to think about. And yeah, I would say I definitely enjoyed it, but I was more just like surprised at the nature of the type of performance that he was giving. And I mean, he sort of like, again, without getting too much of the content, he just sort of like ended the show by like looking through his notes and he'd be like, is there anything else I wanted to say? And then he was just like, all right, I think I'm good. And he just like walked off. And I was like, okay.
The show I saw, he took audience questions afterwards, which was fun. Cool. Yeah, very engaged with the audience. Like there would be moments where someone would say something and like that could be, a 10-minute conversation of an audience member. So, and this, again, just to clarify, the show I'm referring to was at City Winery in New York about 4 weeks ago. So I got to Montreal after that, unfortunately. Flight delays, I had hoped to make it on time, but, the sky had different plans for me.
For sure. Well, you did get there, and then I told you where it was because I had walked over to this bar that was, I would say there was maybe 30 or 40 people there for the show, but it was a Chris Redd, cast member of SNL, Sam J, former writer of SNL, and then Langston Kerman, who was there as well. And they're all part of Chris's series Bust Down, that if you watch that this year, well, it's really an ensemble series, but just because you may be coming to us from knowing Chris, but and they were inviting like new comedians up on stage, and it was really cool. Like, you got to come in and we got to see like these new comedians perform. They did about like 10-minute sets and they would be riffing with the audience. And like speaking about like being loose with the audience, like this is Chris Redd. If I learned anything from this weekend, he is like amazing with audience work,
Yes.
with crowd work. So we got to see that more the following night, but that was really fun. We got to see Chris and got to talk to him. It was really cool to get to talk to him because of doing that interview a few weeks ago and just getting to catch up with him a little bit and talk about his experience in Montreal. He was very excited. We got to see Punky Johnson, who had just walked into the bar, who was there and just coming to see her friends and stuff like that. So got to catch up with her a little bit. And it was just really, you got to see the vibe that like, it's just fun for the comedians to walk around, go into each other's shows and see what's up.
Yep, truly that summer camp vibe, or even like a 5-year reunion for some people. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in so long. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was really cool. So that was Thursday. And then on Friday, that was the big day for us. That was the Just for Laughs award show. So really thankful to the PR team at Just for Laughs for including us. And it was a very cool award show that they do at a hotel in downtown Montreal where they hand out some awards. There were some big names that were invited. Jay Pharoah, former SNL cast member, was the host of the awards show. We had Amy Schumer, Taylor Tomlinson, getting awards, Hasan Minhaj, the James Acaster, British comedian as well. So there was a bunch of people getting awards. There were some presenters there. And prior to the award show, they had this red carpet where we were given access to go and interview the different people that were attending the award show. And it was really cool. We were put next to a bunch of different media outlets, TV stations, radio stations, other comedy, whether it's podcasts or TV shows. And we were there and different people walked the red carpet and we got to talk to them. So that was a very fun experience. And, just to get to be a part of it, get to see and interact with these people, like everybody was so nice. So I'll just say that, like, I didn't have one bad experience with anybody. And I really felt like the connection, they were just like, I got to tell them who we are, what we were doing, and people were just very excited to get to talk to an SNL podcast. So that was really fun. So we did some interviews with each of the people who walked the red carpet. We wanted to talk to Jerrod Carmichael. He did not do the red carpet. So just so you know, but he was at the awards show. So I'm sure Nicole will talk about that. And then Amy Schumer was also there. She was there and she won Comedy Person of the Year at the awards show. I was hoping to get to speak to her on the red carpet, but she really only did red carpet with like one TV outlet. And then she was still in the room though. There was some cocktail food and drinks and stuff. And I went over to go talk to her, introduce myself from the SNL Network. She could not have been nicer. Just really like very bubbly and nice and fun. Was excited to meet me. I told her from the SNL Network and that we were really thrilled to get to hear that she was involved in Kim Kardashian's monologue, which is one of the best monologues of the season for sure. She gave so much credit to Kim. She said she's an amazing performer, doesn't get enough credit. And I did tell her that, we would love to see Amy host again. So, she was just really, really nice. And then really funny anecdote where I was talking to her and she was like, by the way, do you have gum? I was like, actually, I do. I was prepared. I brought all the tools. So I took out the gum, gave it to her. She was like, thank you so much. I really needed gum. I was like, okay, no problem, Amy. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a really fun moment.
Yes. Always have gum all the time. I've learned that too. I learned that in middle school on the bus in the mornings, 7 a.m. It's like if you had gum, you were somebody's hero that day.
Yeah, so word of advice.
And also her award, Chelsea Handler presented her Comedy Person of the Year. And we'll get into more of the award show, but Chelsea gave such a funny speech, and then Amy gave such a sentimental, heartfelt speech. And it was just like so that dynamic, like having just like the intro about Amy be so funny. Chelsea did such a good job of just telling the audience about Amy in this light that like I hadn't even, I love Amy. I've seen so much of her content and I think she's so talented, but just to like hear a peer describe her that way in this like relatively small room was so cool. And then for Amy's speech, like she was not going for laughs at all. She was just being like so genuine and like humble and grateful. It was just like really, it was a cool side to her that I don't think like she necessarily puts out into the world all the time because she is so funny all the time. And so just for her to like sit back and really be like grateful. It was just like, it was so cool. I'm a even bigger fan of her now.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I'm very used to seeing her being self-deprecating all the time, but it was really nice to get to see the sentimental side of her, and yeah, just really nice. So let's talk about some of the people that we did get to talk to on the red carpet. And of course, the number one person I knew I had to talk to was Jay Pharoah, a cast member at Saturday Night Live for 6 years that had a very interesting end of his career with the show. Many people know that famous story where him and Taran Killam were unfortunately let go from the show. And the big question in our community was, how does Taran feel about the show? How does Jay feel about the show now? And that's what I really wanted to know. I wanted to know, Jay, how are you feeling about the show? Would you love to come back to the show? Because, we talked about this so many times on the patron feedback shows during season 47. Jay Pharoah was in the comments commenting on every sketch on Instagram, and every single time something would come out during season 47, he was there talking about it online. And I was really impressed by that and was like, okay, maybe things are good between SNL and Jay. Like maybe one day we will get him back to host SNL. So I really wanted to ask him about that, which you will see in this interview that we have, and we'll play that in full for you right now.
Hey Jay, John with the SNL Network,
wow.
Saturday Night Live podcast. So I knew I needed to talk to you today.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you follow me? No, you don't.
Yeah, of course
Okay.
I do. Yes, for sure. So 6 seasons at Saturday Night Live. I would love to know if there's ever a chance we're going to see you return to the SNL stage one day.
I mean, I hope so. You know what I mean? Like the facilitators over there say, you just have to have something coming out. Yeah. And I do have a lot of things dropping, so hopefully I can get back over it. I would love to. I would definitely love to.
Yeah, that's the big question, because I always see you commenting on different sketches on Instagram. It seems like you're still involved with the show and you're interested in coming back. So we would love to see you host. The fans have been clamoring for it. You're interested?
I'm going to come back. I will make my return. And it will be a glorious return. And hopefully, when I make my return, the episode can get nominated for an Emmy. That's my goal. Didn't get one when I was on the show, but I plan to get one off the show when I come back. I'm an Eddie Murphy the situation. Yeah, that's right. I said it. All right, yeah.
Is there one impression that you wish you could have done on the show that you didn't get to do, and now that since like in the last few years, anything like that?
I don't even think about that. That didn't even cross my mind. I'm not like, oh man, I wish I could get a go at Biden. Nah, because I'm always doing it in my show, so I'm always interchanging them, so never. Like I do wish that Dewan got another chance to return though, character-wise. Oh hell yeah, that. Denny the Real, oh man, Principal Fry. Principal Fry had 6. He had 6 times up there. That's one a year, pretty good. Whatever.
Can you do a little Principal Fry for the camera?
Attention teachers and students. There's a loose baboon out right now and he's very horny. He's had Viagra and a Red Bull, and he's ready to get somebody. So please, if you don't want the monkeypox, I would suggest you strap up and stay out of the house.
Yeah, so that was really fun to get to hear from Jay Pharoah. He was super nice. Even after the camera stopped rolling, he was like talking to us about the SNL Network and just thought it was really cool, everything we're doing over here. And to get to hear a little bit of Principal Fry, one of my favorite characters, Nicole, that was pretty cool.
Yes, that was so cool. And we all know that he's such a talented impressionist, but I think even further, his ability to slip in and out of an impression so seamlessly is amazing. And that really was shown in your interview of when you asked him for some Principal Fry, he just instantly just dives into it. And I think that's a skill that he has better than literally anyone. Just whether he's doing 5 impressions in a row in under a minute, whether he's just being asked, oh, you want to do this? Diving into it. He also did a really good Donald Trump impression during the award show. It was so good. I mean, honestly, on par to me. J.A.J. is the best Trump impressionist that we've seen on SNL. But Jay is it was so good. I cannot say enough. He just mastered it.
Yeah, he was amazing as a host of the award show. He was just came out and he killed it. 10 minutes straight of this opening monologue, and he was so fantastic. The impression was very impressive. I was very like I obviously we know Jay Pharoah could do impressions, but just like, you know, I think that's actually one of the things I said to you. I think when the award show was done, I said like, yeah, the impression was so good, but you know what was amazing about Jay this time? It was that like he was making jokes and was so good, and he didn't even need the impressions to be that good. Like that was what was cool. It was like the impressions maybe like people think are a crutch for Jay, but he's actually like without them hysterical.
Yeah, he just did such a good job hosting, saying nice things about everyone, nice but like really specific things about every single award recipient after they accepted their award, just like cultivating the vibe, you know, as any amazing host would. And he couldn't have been better in that role.
For sure. So let's talk about this next interview that's going to be coming right up. This is with Hasan Minhaj, who is a former Daily Show writer, has hosted the White House Correspondents' Dinner previously, has some Netflix specials, is the host and creator of a weekly comedy show called Patriot Act. And I spoke to him on the red carpet. I did ask him if he was ever interested in hosting SNL. I know this has been a name that has been brought up many times before. He was very excited, and I'm excited for you to hear his response about that. And I will say, out of all the people I met on the red carpet, the most like genuine, normal person I could have ever imagined. Like, I think, Nicole, when we were talking about it, I think we said like, he is like a normal person who became a celebrity. He's not like a celebrity who was just like born like that way. Like, he's just like a normal guy. And I'm rooting for him. I felt bad that I wasn't even as big of a fan as I was until I spoke to him. Like, I was a fan, but like now I'm like a really big fan.
Well, that's the best. I mean, I feel like with comedians who have so much, especially in like the pandemic, for people mostly get to know you through like Netflix specials or TV shows or podcasts. And, you know, I mean, here we are on a podcast, but I feel like it's the best compliment to become a bigger fan of someone for having seen them in person and interacted in like real life, face to face. So I feel like, you know, it's great. I'm sure like he would love to hear if he's listening that like you were a bigger fan for having met him. Like that, I feel like in anybody, that's just the best way to become a bigger fan of somebody. And I agree. I kind of disagree with you. I feel like he in the way that like he's a normal guy who became famous to me, and we could disagree on this. To me, like he did have that like just like distinctive charisma of a famous person. So I disagree with you there, but I think we're both valid. You know, we could both have our opinions. I feel like he just had this air about him of like, to me it was like, you were destined, you know, to be famous and to have like people just be drawn to your art. So to me, that's kind of his vibe. But yeah, he was very funny, very charismatic. And also I love when people are so just like upfront, like, yeah, I'd love to host SNL. You know, I feel like some people will like skirt around it or give like a neutral-ish answer, you know, but he was just very forward. Like he would love it.
Well, don't spoil it because we're gonna play the interview in a second.
Right.
People, but
Well,
but yes,
he said that, and he added a lot. You know, he said yes and first rule of improv, as people mentioned in their sets. Yes and. For
sure. All right, let's head over to that interview with Hasan Minhaj.
John from the SNL Network. Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Yeah, I just would love to know.
You know I was a Daily Show guy, right?
Yes, yeah, I know. But just in case, if you ever got the opportunity to host Saturday Night Live, would you be interested?
I would love it. I would love that. Yeah, Lauren, call me. I'm ready. I would love to do that.
Are you a big fan of SNL? Have you been watching for a long time?
To me, the opening monologue that's given by stand-up comedians is like a must-watch. When Mulaney does it, Kevin Hart, I'll always watch a stand-up's opening monologue. Jerrod's monologue a few months ago was spectacular. Yeah. It's always a must-watch.
Yeah, we have a lot of fans at the network have brought up your name as a potential host in the future, so we'd love to see you.
That'd be amazing. You know, in the last, I think the South Asian host that they had was Kumail or Aziz, so it's been a few years. It'd be really great, and especially as we turn the corner and go into an election year, I think it'd be really exciting. I'd love to do it.
Well, we're rooting for you, so good luck, and congratulations on the award. Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, so that was just incredible to get to talk to Hasan. I was very impressed with all the answers that he gave and him talking about, you know, obviously knowing that Kumail Nanjiani and Aziz Ansari, you know, previously hosted SNL and that, you know, he could potentially be the third South Asian man to host SNL. I mean, that would be really cool. So I'm rooting for him. And, Nicole, you were talking in advance of the interview about you just like his charisma and stuff. And I agree. I think he has that natural celebrity charisma. He sort of reminds me in a way, and I know he has a political background, so this kind of fits. Like, he reminds me of whatever you hear about really good politicians, that when you go and you meet a politician, that they always make you feel like you're the most important person in the room.
Yes,
like he has that quality about himself.
That's what it is, because it's like when you talk to him, it's like he's really present and engaged and like enraptured in like the present moment with you, as if like you've known each other since you were 5 years old. Like, that's the energy, and that is sort of like the ultimate way of being a celebrity or a politician. It's like it's feeling like, oh no, they're not a celebrity or a politician, they're just really nice. And both can be true.
For sure. And the award that Hasan got was for Stand-Up Comedian of the Year, which was presented to him by Asif Ali.
Yes, very funny. Very funny. I wasn't.
Who was in WandaVision, for those who are wondering, and The Mandalorian and BoJack Horseman.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a WandaVision fake. I'm like, oh my God, I love WandaVision. And I didn't watch it in its entirety.
You're
so
just a
I
Captain
have to
Han
get
fan.
back. I've been needing to finish it anyway. So now he was so funny in his speech introducing. So that gives me a good reason to go back and watch it.
All right, let's talk about the next interview that we have, and that was with up-and-coming comedy star Taylor Tomlinson. My man TJ is very excited about this, where we got to talk to Taylor Tomlinson, who has a couple Netflix specials out. Really just the coolest person. She came over and she was so nice. She was named to Forbes 2021 class of 30 under 30. She's been on The Tonight Show, Conan, Comedy Central's Adam Devine's House Party, Netflix's comedy lineup. She's as the number one upcoming prospect as you possibly can be in comedy. Like, everyone is just really hyped on Taylor Tomlinson. I would not be surprised, Nicole, if she hosts SNL this season.
Totally. I think also, given all of the hype around Jerrod Carmichael, how good of a job he did, how excited people were, him being the only host this year to be nominated for an Emmy, I just feel like the show that I think we're going to see more of people who are known so well in the comedy world, not necessarily outside of it as much. So I feel like with Jerrod being so successful, I'm sure we're going to see more of the types of people who would win, Just for Laughs awards, who in this circle, it's people we really want to see host. So totally, I think we're going to see her. Yeah, she was so cool, so nice, and really funny, accepting the award, which we'll get to.
For sure. Let's bring you our conversation with Taylor Tomlinson.
So congratulations on being the Breakout Comedy Star of the Year. How are you feeling?
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, great. I'm very honored. I'm excited they're including me in this. I think the list is insane, and it's not helping my imposter syndrome, but it is. It is very nice.
Well, a lot of the Saturday Night Live fans feel like you deserve this for sure, and I've been hearing from a lot of the fans that they're really hoping that you host SNL one day. Would that be something you would like to do?
Oh my gosh, I'd love to do that one day. I could never work at SNL. I'm too anxious. I don't know how people do it. I think it's so impressive. I think they're all magicians and superheroes, but I would love to go in for a week at some point in my career and just host.
Are you a fan of Saturday Night Live? Have you been watching a lot?
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of people now watch clips online. That's usually how I do it. Rather than, I don't have TV anymore, but...
Okay, so you accomplished so much in 2022. Is there any big goals that you have for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on a movie right now. Hopefully that gets made. We're got a few other projects in the works, and as you know, you just always have a lot of plates spinning, and you hope one of them doesn't shatter. And then, yeah, I'm back on tour in October, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited to do international dates next year. So it's really cool. I feel like I'm finally in a place in my career where I can kind of I can pick and choose and say no to the things I don't want to do and go after the things I do want. So I feel very lucky.
Absolutely. Well, we're all really excited for you, and we hope to see you on the SNL stage one day soon.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That was our chat with Taylor Tomlinson, who won the award for Breakout Comedy Star of the Year. Totally deserving, in my opinion. She's absolutely hilarious, and I can't wait to see if she does host SNL, because it seems like she's interested.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and she was presented that award by, I have to say it, like my man, Pete Holmes, because I had such a fun conversation with Pete Holmes. Pete Holmes was recently in a movie that you may know of. It is the new Home Alone movie, written by Mikey Day and Streeter Seidel, also featured Kenan Thompson in it. So I really wanted to ask him about his experience with that. And it seems to me like he's pretty good friends with Streeter. So he was talking about that when we spoke to him. And Nicole, when Pete went up there, Pete Holmes, to talk about Taylor Tomlinson and present her this award, I think you were pretty amazed by the set that he put on as he was introducing her.
Yes, I was. I mean, like any good comedian, artist, businessman, etc., he put on a show. I would say, like, as much, maybe more than any other presenter, and it was all about Taylor. Everything was like, talking about how amazing she is, and if anything, like him talking in this detail, it was like I really painted a picture of all the things that he respects about Taylor. Something that was really salient to me was how they have connected over their religious backgrounds and how that makes for such interesting comedy. And like for me, coming from a like relatively, Reform Jewish background, not a ton of like religious, guilt or shame or things, like less than a lot of people. It was like just cool to hear them talk about how they related on that. And so, yeah, and I think it was just like he just did such a good job. And I think something that he also said was like, this actually was my favorite part. So Pete said that the best thing about Taylor, one of, is that like her ability to talk in real time about things that are happening to her, like struggles she's going through, whatever it is. And like I feel like modern culture with like the internet and Instagram and things like celebrities or influencers, whatever, comedians even, it's this whole thing of like, 2 months ago or a year ago, I was like in the dumps, I was having a really hard time. And now that I've learned from it, here's what I learned. And it's just like if you watched her Netflix specials, if you've seen her live, like whatever's going on in the moment, she can talk about that in such an intelligent, self-aware way, like while it's happening, and then of course after it happens, like she has even more insights to say. And so he just really like illustrated that and articulated it. And it was just, it was so cool. He did such a good job. It's clear, for him being someone who has been around for longer, he's been in comedy for a while, like for him to just like be so excited to present the award was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. You may also know him. He has a very popular podcast called You Made It Weird, where he's had a ton of guests on there, including Seth Rogen, Blake Griffin, like a lot of really fun guests. So he's a really dynamic personality, and we will take you to his interview right now.
Would love to ask you, I know you were working on the Home Alone movie, right, with Mikey Day and Streeter Seidel and Kenan Thompson. So how was your experience with that?
That's right. I love Streeter. I know you mentioned a bunch of people that are SNL people, but Streeter and I have known each other for a long time, a really, really long time. So it was a dream, really a dream come true to do something with him. And I just today realized that I had to quarantine for 2 weeks in Montreal, in old Montreal actually. But today on the phone with my wife was the first time we made the joke that I had to be home alone to shoot Home Alone. It was right there. It was right there. But today we were like, how did we not make that joke every day? But yeah, it was a fun experience.
Yeah, it was a really fun movie. And Pete, I would love to know, are you a big fan of Saturday Night Live? Would you ever be interested in hosting the show?
I wish this is how it worked. Yeah. He said on the podcast he'd like to do it. When I was a young man, meaning like probably 30, I made the list of the things that you want to do, but really tried to make a small list. Not the and I'm not talking about a private jet, I'm just saying like, what do you want to do in comedy? And of course, like everybody, it's host SNL. I wanted to be on SNL, and when that was clearly not going to happen, you're like, well, maybe I'm going to host, because you never want to let go of SNL. So if Lauren, baby, if you see this, give this Val Kilmer-looking motherfucker a chance.
We're going to work on it. So, yeah. Pete, such a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations.
All these politicians I look like. I get desperate and sweaty. But sometimes people tweet at me. They're like, I don't follow politics, but they're like, you look like that guy. Yeah. So I'm down for cameos, too.
We'll get you to play somebody at the midterms.
I'm not above a cameo.
Okay, that was our discussion with Pete Holmes on the red carpet. So thanks, Pete, for joining us. It was cool to get to ask him if he would ever host SNL as well. And, he says it might be too late to call him, but I don't think so. So I guess we will see.
yeah, a lot of people mentioned that, like, with the election season coming up, I think that's when people get hyped to want to host. And it's cool when hosts can fill the roles of different political figures. I know, like, there's the common critique that we have, like, a lot of cameos filling those roles. So, you can't really complain if you have the host in a cold open or in a political sketch. I think that really shakes it up and is fun.
Absolutely. Nicole, do you want to talk about Jerrod Carmichael at the awards show and him getting his award there?
Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned before, he talked a lot about truth and how, like, the ultimate thing is truth. And it's his acceptance speech was similar, I would say, to, like, his stand-up that we're describing. It was just like he was really, like, sitting into it, being present, soaking it in, like, having his awareness kind of be, like, really that, like, just, like, sitting into it. And it was really, like, it was interesting. He seemed just so grateful to be there, to have to be accepting the award, like, very aware of the year that he's had, like, so much success. And yeah, it was cool to see. He also, a really funny part is he had Robbie Pratt, who's an exec at Netflix, present the award to him, which is really funny because Jerrod has done his specials through HBO, and Robbie told a really funny story about how, like, they had dinner on Robbie's dime once, and that's when Jerrod sat him down and was like, so I have to tell you, I'm only working with HBO on my specials. And Robbie then still paid for the dinner. So that is just, like, a very funny story. And then, of course, for Jerrod to want Robbie presenting it is hilarious and a joke in itself. And so, yeah. And I mean, come on, for, like, someone to be so excited to present you an award who is an exec at the rival company of the one where you want to have all your specials. It was cool. It was very, like, Barack Obama delivering a really beautiful speech at John McCain's funeral, which I stumbled upon yesterday and rewatched for the 10th time because it just, makes me long for other days.
Yes, for sure. If only the Republicans and Democrats had such a yeah, I don't know what the right.
Yeah, back when there was mutual respect for people with differences. Back when respect existed in general.
Yeah, I tried to navigate around that minefield. Yes, so Jerrod Carmichael got the award for Comedy Special of the Year. He came up for a few minutes, said thank you to everybody, and just, talked to. He was vulnerable as well. Talked about his year and stuff, and then left. And it was good to get to see him again and talk through that. So we also had a couple of fun interviews where we did with some British comedians. One was with this guy James Acaster. If you don't know him, he got the award for Rising Star in Comedy, and he was pretty funny. We got to talk to this other British comedian, Jimmy Carr, if you may know him. We'll save those interviews for the end of the podcast, so I'll play those as we finish things up. But I do want to do one more right in the middle, which was with Bruce Hills, who is the head of Just for Laughs. And we got to talk to him on the red carpet. And really, my main question for him was, like, how does it feel to be this breeding ground for up-and-coming comedians and having all these comedians come back? Obviously, the last 2 years were really tough because of COVID. The festival was mostly virtual, but for them, having their 40th celebration, having all these comedians come back to Montreal was really special. So I want to play you some words from Bruce Hills, the head of Just for Laughs.
How are you enjoying the festival so far? Are you happy with everything that's going on?
Really happy. We were worried about if we were going to be able to pull off a full-fledged festival. And not only did we pull it off, I think the team outdid themselves by putting together such an amazing lineup. And most importantly, though, is seeing the comics with such huge smiles on their faces, the audiences all getting back together again, to the biggest and greatest comedy festival in the world, and day camp, summer camp for comics.
Would love to ask you quickly about Saturday Night Live, which is a breeding ground for up-and-coming comics, but Just for Laughs is really the same. People come up here and they look for the next big stars. How do you feel like Just for Laughs is doing with finding the next stars of comedy?
Well, look, first off, SNL actually comes to Just for Laughs to see comedy. So, and a lot of cast members have come from our New Faces show. And so that's something that we're really proud of. The discoverability aspect of our festival is the key piece. It's absolutely what drives us. And, if you look at the artist on the bill today at the award show, Hasan and Amy are New Faces. they're selling out huge theaters, and they still want to come back and perform here. So that's pretty awesome.
And thank you so much to Bruce for joining us on the SNL Network and also for having us at the Comedy Festival. It was really nice to get to talk to him, and I look forward to being there every year and catching up with him in the future. So like I said, we'll play some of those other interviews as we wrap up our show today. Nicole, anything else from the awards show you want to make sure we talk about?
Well, yeah, James Acaster, you mentioned his acceptance speech was really funny. His reel, everyone got sort of like a sizzle reel introducing their, before they went up to accept their awards, and his was like especially funny. I just feel like it was like crack after crack. I was just like really laughing throughout that whole thing. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was really great, and we were thrilled to be there. Okay, so that was the Friday afternoon, and then Friday evening, Nicole and I went down to the area where Just for Laughs is. We got to walk around. Nicole mentioned this Trixie Mattel show, so it was a fun experience for me to get to go to that and on the street and walk around and stuff. We got some food, and then we went to this late show on Friday night with Chris Redd and Moses Storm, another up-and-coming comedian who actually I saw Moses Storm on Jimmy Fallon last month, or in May maybe, and he was really funny. But yeah, so Chris and Moses were there, and it was in the same strip club area where I went to the Rosebud Baker show a couple nights earlier. So we're talking like 25, maybe 30 people in the room. Nicole and I, we saw Chris as he was like walking up the stairs coming in. We're walking up. He asked us how our day was. Like we told him we were doing the awards show and stuff. And he was just super happy and excited that we were there. Nicole and I decided to go like front and center and watch the show, which may have been a mistake, but it was fun. And, basically the show was they would introduce like different comedians and do a lot of crowd work as well. So we got to see Rosebud Baker, who came out do another set with us. That was fun, and a couple of other comedians. But I was just so impressed and amazed to get to see this other side of Chris Redd that frankly you never get to see on SNL, which is like we know him for the one-liners, the pre-tapes, and like some of the stuff. And he had a really incredible year. But just to get to see his like incredible personality and like ability to like riff on anything was so fascinating. It was a lot of crowd work, and I'll let you talk about it, Nicole, because it was just really cool.
It was amazing. So the show was called Red Storm, which is their last names, but it also sounds like, like a brand of sneakers or like a festival like Red Storm. It just like really sticks out. It's a good name. So, they should, they were so good together. I'd love to just keep on seeing them collaborate. The improv, the quickness, the sharpness, it was so good. They did technically introduce a bunch of, that was like what they were doing, but like we can't emphasize enough. It was like full sets full of work is how it felt. It was like they weren't just like, all right, let's get the next person up. Let's do, keep up. Like they were just like really sitting into it, like being so present, so funny, taking some cracks at John and me too, which we were here for. We had fun with it. No stone was unturned, I feel like, in the audience because it was so intimate. So like everybody was interacting, and it was like truly so amazing. And every single comedian also, we left and we were like, everyone felt like a headliner. Literally every single person. That show was amazing, like so good. Also Langston, who we had seen the night prior doing the show with Chris and Sam J, had a set. He was amazing. It was just like, oh my, like what a show. That could have been, or maybe it couldn't have been because of like the intimacy is kind of what made it special, but it felt just the quality and the amazingness. It felt like a show of hundreds of people. And I think that's what's special about going to Just for Laughs is like you can get a show that feels as high quality as the biggest arenas in the world, and it's so intimate and small.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, like there were some really cool shows at the festival. Bill Burr, Amy Schumer, Kevin Hart, John Mulaney, like some of the shows we went to, Jerrod Carmichael. But this to me was like at least the best show that I've been to potentially ever at the festival. Like I've been to a lot of shows of these. Like it was definitely near the top because it was just so much fun. I love improv. And it was like as good as improv as you can get, like even to the point where they're like, they're just like standing there trying to think of the next thing. And they're just like, so who's ever been walked in on while having sex? And then like somebody from the audience will just like you raise their hand, and then they'll just start asking questions, and there'll be this back and forth. Like one girl even like was trying to like show pictures of a guy on her phone and like handed it to Chris and stuff like that. And
comparing a guy and his roommate. So
Yeah.
everyone in the audience got to see the guy and the roommate, the guy's roommate. We all got to see it and talk about it.
Yeah, so like it's just an example of like how much fun that show was, and honestly, yeah, it was really great. And then after the show, I got to talk to Chris for a few minutes on the street, and just like could not be nicer, and just like thankful to get to interact with the SNL fans, and got a lot of compliments for Chris Redd and the hustle that he put in at Just for Laughs. He's really did a great service for all the fans. So you know, like I said, there's so many shows, so many things to do. You can never possibly cover everything at Just for Laughs. Because there's just hundreds of shows to go to. But whether you go to like a really big show in one of these arenas or you go to one of the smaller shows, like you're gonna get something out of this. So if you are a comedy fan, it's an absolute bucket list item to do, is come up to Montreal for Just for Laughs, because I think it's worthwhile.
Yes, and there's just so many different things to do, like whether things that, you know, cost added money or things that don't. It's like you can fill up these days and do so much. I mean, you're from there, so you know even better than me, but I felt like, oh, I could literally be busy every second of the day and be just having so much fun doing so many things constantly. Like it was just magical, truly. Like that like festival carnival feeling. It's like, it was just amazing. And the food was so good. Trixie, I'll give one more shout out. Trixie Mattel's show was amazing. Just even to have a live show in general that is free and that everybody can be hearing. Like when I've gone to free shows in New York, they're still closed off. Like you still have to wait in a line and be sort of seated or placed, you know. And so to have a free show that literally like you can just sort of walk in, or even not be, you know, be a block away and be enjoying the show. It was like, I feel like there are very few places where that happened, like places that attract that level of talent and that will have shows that feel just so open like that. It was like literally I never had seen such a like high quality outdoor free open accessible show like that ever. And I, you know, have been to a lot of things in New York, and I'm like, New York needs to step it up, because like I want to be able to go to a show that I can just walk past and see amazing talent.
For sure. You know you're not having fun until you're Nicole Rovine watching the Trixie Mattel show, making Jon Schneider hold her paella in the rain while waiting for
Trixie was just doing like bop after bop song, and I was like, at a certain point I was like, Jon, you have to hold my paella. I'm going to go over there. I'll see you in 15 minutes. It starts raining, and I'm like, he'll deal with my paella. I just need to be like dancing in the rain right now. And he did, and I got back, and I just have to say, it wasn't, you know, soggy at all. He did a good job of holding my paella. So thank you for that. I got to dance in the rain. It was perfect, truly. And then I got to eat my paella. It was great. And then you got pizza.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. So
one thing that New York does better than Montreal is pizza.
Yeah, it depends where you go, I guess. So overall, amazing time at Just for Laughs. What I would say is, whether you are a podcaster with us here at the SNL Network or a listener at the SNL Network, if you do ever decide to come up to Montreal for Just for Laughs, let me know. Send us a message. Maybe we'll do some type of SNL Network meetup in future years at the Just for Laughs festival, because it really is ideal for all of us and our community. So I would recommend it for sure. Okay, Nicole, anything else you want to say about the festival?
It was really fun. I mean, I'm glad I ended on the note of, you know, something that New York does better than Montreal, pizza. But overall, I feel like I was really saying Montreal does do some things better than New York. So I'll you know, ultimately New York, I have to say New York is amazing. But yeah, it was so much fun. Like there's no way to have more fun in a weekend or in 3 days or 2 days. It was great. I could not recommend it enough.
For sure. All right, so let's talk about what's happening here at the SNL Network besides everything at Just for Laughs. So right now, if you are watching this in the beginning of August, we're right in the middle of our SNL Network Character Countdown series, which is a patron podcast series. That means that the podcasts are co-hosted from some of our paid subscribers who are really great and support us here at the SNL Network. You can always find out more about our Patreon program at patreon.com/the SNL Network. And those folks are joining us every single week as we count down the top 20 SNL characters of all time as voted by you, the fans. So we're through the number 20 all the way to 13. We've announced those in 2 different shows. So keep joining us every week as we break those down as we head towards season 48 of SNL. Also had a ton of other great episodes this summer, including our goodbyes to 4 of the cast members who have departed us and have announced their departures. We did a point counterpoint, our SNL debate episode, so that was fun. We also spoke to Chris Redd on the podcast, and hopefully we'll have more interviews coming up over the next few weeks before the new season starts. Nicole, where can everybody find everything we are doing on social media?
You can find us at the SNL Network everywhere. If you saw this, then you got to see and listen to some of the interviews that we did. You can also catch some of that content all over social media. Just at the SNL Network, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, everything. We're doing a lot of stuff over the summer, and we're gearing up. The lottery just was announced for SNL, so that's kind of our cue. We've been active all summer, but I think now we're gearing up also for the fall already, which is crazy.
For sure. Let's get it going. All right. Well, that does it. I just want to thank everybody who joined us tonight to hear about our experience at Just for Laughs. You know where to find the podcast, so make sure to do so and subscribe wherever you can. And we will leave you off tonight with a couple of other fun interviews we did at the Just for Laughs awards show. So for Nicole Rovine and myself, Jon Schneider from the SNL Network, we'd like to thank Just for Laughs for including us in their celebration of comedy this past week. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.
Hey, so I would love to know if you are a big fan of Saturday Night Live.
No, not really.
So you would never want to host SNL?
Yeah, I would because it'd look cool. No, I'm not a fan of. I don't because in the UK we don't watch full episodes of Saturday Night Live, but I like the clips. I like the Pumpkins one when Tom Hanks was the Pumpkins guy. That's really funny. I like the cowbell. The cowbell one was funny when he playing the cowbell all the time. And there were a few monologues that have been really great. So I definitely recognise it's a great show. I just can't lie and say that I watch it because I don't really have access to it.
We have a lot of British hosts come over to the States to host SNL, so I feel like you would be top of the list potentially to host one day.
I don't think I would be top of the list, especially after saying that. I'm definitely not getting on it now.